enter my side of the office. This is the wire that I almost trip up on.
Almost. Even every day.
Every single day I trip up. We do need to have a little bit of a tidy in here. That's the sign from very first gym, which we were going to saw it and then have it displayed somewhere. But
Yeah. What did you want to saw it with?
a regular saw. So we've not got round to that yet. So it is a little bit of a mess around here. But we're preparing for our big end of year event. So at the end of every single year, we do something called the annual upgrade. Oh, well, they used to be called the refresher. It's had multiple different iterations and different names now, much to the annoyance of my team. But essentially what we try to do is at the end of every single year, we want to get all of our mental health and exercise coaches and all of our PT diploma coaches together and celebrate in style, because our award in mental health and exercise coaches delivered virtually. So it's a 2-day course delivered online. And we've done that for scalability reasons. We want to be able to, offer the award in MHEC all across the world. And maybe one day we could do it in person again, but we need to deliver it virtually. But one of the main things you miss from that is getting in the room with people. So at the end of every single year, we get all of our coaches together in one room and we put them through a full day of teaching. It's a networking day. They get to be inspired by one another, other members of the MHEC family, because the amazing thing I believe about MHEC is that although we've got 500 mental health and exercise coaches all working on different missions, we're all working on the same mission as well. So that's happening a week tomorrow. So I'll show you some of the stuff that we've been doing. In fact, I'll show you some images from other years as well. You can navigate into my folders.
Nice and organised as always.
Thank you. Look at that.
You've just done this for the camera.
No. This is. I mean, it's even more of a maze because you think it's organised, but now there's just 1,000,001 different folders. So we'll see how many steps I can get. So MHEC group, award in MHEC, images. There we go. Right, it's straight there already. So 2022 refresher. This was one of the biggest ones that we've done. This was amazing this day. That was class. So it's a similar type thing. The difference is, I'll explain this in a little bit more detail. Actually, this is a perfect example, right? So this is this year's agenda, right? This document here. And we're going to be teaching from 10 till 5. But my document to advertise the event is 13 slides. And one of those slides is lunch and the lunch menu option. If you want to take it back to what we did in previous years, I mean, have a look at this. So this is our one. This one was, the original one, 299 slides. So, things have changed quite a lot. A few years ago, when we did this first one, so what was that? That was 2022.
Yep.
So it's 3 years ago. That was the biggest one we've ever done. It was in Birmingham. And I spent 2 months researching and creating the content. I ended up getting a crick in my neck because I was sitting hunched over the kitchen table literally all day creating the slides and creating the content for it. And it was brilliant, but it ended up me being standing in front of a room and teaching people for the full 8 hours. Whereas in reality, actually, the thing that our coaches would have got the most benefit from would have been networking with one another and doing group work. So I took that feedback on board, thanks to Ben and Fee, who called me out and were like, it was amazing, but how about this for next time? Since then, we've changed it massively. We used to stand up in front of the room and expect people to be completely blown away by the content. It's because you would love our coaches posting stories online and being like, this has completely changed my way of thinking, and that's amazing. But what we have realized over time, and this applies to anyone who's offering a service, in particular with personal trainers when they're offering a business, teaching people and education is amazing, right? And that's what we pride ourselves on, but that's the first step. It is futile unless you focus on implementation. So the comparison between that 3 years ago and what we're going to be doing next week is massive. It's pretty much all group work. There's hardly any time that me and Ben are going to be standing at the front teaching. It's all about how can we actually help them create a fulfilling and rewarding fitness business and implement it. There's so much fluff. There's so many tactics. There's so many things you can teach people, but unless you help them with the implementation, it's it's not going to work at all. So it's going to be class. We're absolutely buzzing. I'll go through some of the stuff that we're going to be doing with them. So what we decided to do with some of our mentorship coaches a couple of years ago, so this is individuals who've joined our award in mental health and exercise coaching, and they then work alongside Ben and the rest of the team when it comes to helping them with the business fundamentals, because it's great teaching them how to look after themselves, it's great how to teach them how to look after the clients, but if they don't know how to run a business, then people out in the community aren't going to get that support. So that's what we help them with. And what we started doing a couple of years ago was something called the round table presentations. So every quarter, so every 3 months, we will get our mental health and exercise
Is that
coaches.
what a quarter is?
So it's because I hate saying stuff like quarter. It's so wanky. But it is. I need to speak in business terms. So every quarter we get our coaches, and what we'll get them to do is reflect on the previous 3 months. So for example, they would do it from, I'm not even going to do this now, I was going to say they'll do it from January to March, and you'll be like, oh, is that 3 months? So then at the start of April, they'll present back on the first 3 months of the year. When it gets to July, they'll then present back on the second quarter of the year, which is April to June, I'll have you know, and April through June. And basically what we get them to do is we get them to reflect on how their business has been, what sort of clients have they helped, what sort of results have they got within their program, what amazing stories do they have of helping vulnerable individuals out in their community. But then we focus on the really important business stuff. Like I said, the stuff that they need to know how to do that a lot of personal trainers don't even know in order to be able to support more clients and help more people and have a real impact in their community. So we look at what community initiatives they've done, what mistakes they've made, what lessons they can draw from that, what things they've done that they are proud of, what different goals have they set that they've managed to achieve and smash out the park. And essentially what we do is we get them to create a presentation, not so dissimilar to this Canva presentation that I've got here, and do a 10-minute presentation to the other coaches. So it's terrifying for them, it's terrifying. But it teaches them how to analyze business performance and success and growth. It gets them to get familiar with key performance indicators and how to present them. It gets them to practice their presentation skills, their public speaking skills, standing up, growing confidence, getting out of their comfort zone. So it's an amazing activity. So essentially, one of the very first things we're going to be doing on the weekend is getting our coaches into groups and sharing their business results. And I don't actually know anyone else that does this. I'm not familiar with any other mentorship that would get PTs to do that. And it just teaches them loads about their business and will help them map out stuff for the coming year ahead. And that's the biggest purpose of this event is how do we get all of our coaches going into 2026 100% confident and feeling like they're already ahead so they can go off into their community and continue to change and save lives all over the country.
Well done.
Thank you. Thanks. That was good, wasn't it? Right, we'll do a swapsy.
Okay.
So you can hit stop now. So this is our whiteboard Wednesdays. I think we've ticked off quite a lot of stuff from this list. Yeah, we've done quite a lot of that. And for anyone who hasn't seen it, I'll give you a wee tour of the MHEC gym. So this is our breakfast bar. Don't know why we have a breakfast bar in the gym, but we've got a seating area. So this is where we can deliver some courses or educational events for any of our gym members, or if we host any of our qualifications here. This is my mini shrine that we're going to be adding to. And this is the gym here. We love our gym. It's small, but it's very intimate. It's very private. Gives our members an opportunity just to come in and just exercise in their safe space. Let's go have a wee look at what.
Come on in.
Let's have a wee look at this. So Ben's setup is a lot cleaner than mine. You can see mine's is a bit of a mess.
I need the additional monitors for more deep thinking work. Deep thinking.
Such a businessman. Businessman doing business. Yeah, three
Three
screens.
screens. Hyper productive. Get shit done.
Wow. Nice. Very good. Right, tell us about what you've been working on.
So some of you may know, if you know us, I've recently returned from paternity leave for the second time.
Yay.
Woohoo! And besides the lack of sleep, I also struggled to realise that Dan had pulled together all of the content for the upgrade happening next week. So, and issued it to everyone without consulting me. So, I had to help him structure it into a format that made sense to me for a start, because Dan is brilliant at holding loads of information in his head around how he wants things to work, but doesn't communicate it. And I had to make a promise. I had to make him promise that this time myself and the rest of the team would be getting the content before the event itself, because Dan showed you the slides from our very first upgrade that we did a couple of years ago, and myself and a couple of the other team were asked to lead a group, and we were finding out the exercise at the same time as the group we were meant to be leading. So I was reading the information at the same time as the group, and then had to answer questions on it as well. So we've come a long way. Dan's done pretty well since then. And in fairness to him, he listened to me when I came back and said, right, we need to structure this, and he went with it. So one thing that we pulled together is what's called a SIPOC. You can see here on our mural board. This is a framework that I learned in a past life when I was part of the corporate world. And basically this is something that I teach a lot of our coaches. So not only do I teach the guys frameworks that I think are beneficial and useful for them, but it's also things that we actually use ourselves day in, day out. So any events, any strategy things, myself and Dan, Fee's been through to do this exercise before as well. We'll sit down with our very own whiteboard there, and we'll map out the content for the SIPOC. So with the different lessons that are taking place through the upgrade, I think there's 6 or 7 kind of lessons taking place through the day. We've created one of these tables to run through and plan the content. So basically the way that it works is starting with the customers of the process. That's where it came from. So who will be benefiting from what you're about to take them through. Outputs. What outputs or outcomes do you want to deliver from this process? So when I say process, think lesson or exercise or task. So we started mapping out all of the outputs that Dan wanted people attending on the day to either walk away from knowing, understanding, learning, thinking, feeling, right into that level of detail. So we mapped out all of those outputs, and then we started then mapping out, right, well, you say, for example, in here, understand how to measure the success of the progress. My question to Dan in this exercise would then be, right, well, how do you deliver that? What are you going to do? What are you going to step them through to deliver that as an output? How are you going to get them to understand how to measure the success of their progress? And then we do that for each of the different outputs, so that we can then say, right, well, the outputs that we want to deliver from this, we then have a step-by-step process to make sure that all of those outputs and outcomes are delivered. And then very simply, once that's mapped out, we then go, right, well, what inputs do we need for that? Like slides, prompt questions, content, worksheets, whatever it may be, so that we kind of begin with the end in mind from the outputs, work backwards, and then build forwards when it comes to actually creating stuff.
Yeah, so it's essentially, it's like reverse engineering is probably the term that you will be familiar with if you're watching this. For me, it's like I'll come up with the content, I'll know what it is that I want to talk about, and I'll know what the deliverables are. Or sometimes I will reverse engineer it, sometimes I'll know what I want from it. But it's typically that I'd do it the other way about. I'd start from the start. I'd come up with something that I thought was cool, I'd come up with an idea, and then I would come up with the content, but maybe then I'd be missing the outputs or something like this. So this is, I mean, it's difficult for me to get my head around. I mean, this is what, maybe like the fifth or sixth time we've done a SIPOC, and I still don't really fully understand it. But once it allows, you'll say to a lot of the coaches that you help, it's organized thinking for disorganized thinkers.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Which is why it works quite well for you. Although now my tactic now is to not actually show you this as a table and actually just get you, I think with this I got you to stand over at your desk and I just ask you questions.
Yeah. So I didn't actually fill the table in because it still confused me.
I think any time we've done it in the whiteboard before, you've just looked at the structure of it and just switched off. It's
Maybe.
probably the polite version.
Maybe, potentially. So with that in mind then, so this is a framework that we have used for planning events. So obviously it's a big thing, you know, it's taking place at Birmingham City Football Stadium. You know, it's going to be a massive venue. We've got a lot of coaches there. There's a lot of logistical things that we need to organise. Luckily, when it comes to the numbers, it's not like there's a ton of things that we really need to know or put in place with regards to that. It's more when it comes to the learning and make sure that the learners achieve everything we want to. So we've used this framework, it's called a SIPOC framework, to plan the content for the day. And because we practice what we preach, we're then going to be given our coaches frameworks to take away as well. So for example, one of the exercises that we're going to be doing, which we do every single year, is something called, it's 2026 planning. So we're going to be planning for the year ahead when it comes to their goals, their visions, their dreams. And obviously, because I'm a blue sky thinker, I will help them push themselves out of their comfort zones and dare to believe in achieving amazing things next year. But that's obviously pointless unless we properly structure things and give them the tools to be able to efficiently organize, prioritize, and plan for the next year. And I think this is what a lot of people get wrong. A lot of mentors, a lot of teachers, a lot of people who educate or try to inspire, a lot of the time they will simply just, you're right.
Yeah, I think so.
A lot of the time it'll be a lot of fluff. I feel it'll be like, right, let's inspire you for an hour. But then people come away with it and they're like, right, well, I've got all these ideas, or I've got this motivation, and then the motivation dies, or I've got all this information, but now I don't know what to do with it. And I was guilty of that. I'll hold my hands up that I would just give them so much content and try to blow them away with that. But I didn't think too much about, well, how are they going to strategically implement this afterwards? So that's what Ben's going to be focusing on for the last exercise of the day.
Yeah, becoming a CEO. So I'll show you on the screen here. Basically, what we've then done is we've taken the outputs that we've put on here onto this table, is then populated what we're putting into, these are the slides, sneak peek. We've then populated them into the lesson objectives. So anything that's listed here is basically the output that we've collected from the SIPOC. So like Dan mentioned there, my final part of the day is going to be delivering a session on becoming a CEO, basically helping them to step into what I call their CEO era, because from what I've seen, a lot of coaches don't actually see themselves as business owners, and let alone that, the figurehead of the business as well. So my outputs and objectives for that session is to, number one, to inspire them to take action on the learning from today, because like Dan mentioned a couple of minutes ago, it's very easy just to deliver all of this content, all of this education, without giving people the opportunity to think about, well, all this stuff's good, but how are you going to actually put it into practice? How are you actually going to say, how are you actually going to do the things that you said that you were going to do? Which is what this session is all about. It's really about pulling everything together from the day and then building out a plan for carrying it forwards. Like I mentioned a minute ago, to inspire them to step into their CEO era, to bring together all of your outputs from each session to one plan, to identify which obstacles could hold you back and prevent progress, to determine what your obstacle overcomers are to manage if and when required obstacles present themselves, to identify where they may require support to implement your plan, either from their peers in the room, either from ourselves at MHEC, or their own team, or their own support network, whatever that may look like. And then obviously finally to define their key milestones and how they will measure success, so that they know whether they're actually on track to deliver the plan that they said they were going to deliver, or if they're veering off track, they need to pull themselves back off track. It's really starting to get them to think about how they're going to track and monitor their progress, not just based on gut feel, but on data and numbers, because I'm a massive geek. to tell them why you creeped in like that?
So this is what the camera's wobbling. The camera's attached to the desk. I want to show it to prove the point. No, we're not.
No.
So I think one of the main things the main reasons why we do these big in-person events is we're not just a qualification provider. Like, we really, really, really hate courses that are just tick box courses, and kind of what I've alluded to previously as well in this video, that a lot of the time it's just about the education and it's the tick box and there's nothing to do with the implementation. And there's so much that we now have realised through being an education provider and a qualification centre over the course of the last couple of years, that just how vitally important supporting the individuals with the implementation is. Like, that's the most important part. And again, like, I was so guilty of that. Like, even if you think about the award in MHEC course days, like, I used to be, when I used to deliver, I don't deliver them myself anymore now, but when I used to deliver those 2 days, everything what was invested in getting this incredible feedback for these coaches to be like, this has completely changed my life, this is amazing. And we still get that feedback, but a lot of it was to do with the education. It was to do with, like, I'm absolutely mind blown, like, I never knew this before, like, oh my God, this education is so groundbreaking. And again, it is, but that was the feedback that I was seeking. It was like, I'm not going to be satisfied unless I absolutely fucking, like, blow the roof off the place. And whenever we got feedback that maybe was a little bit more subdued, it maybe wasn't as intense as that, like, we would take offence to it. Whereas actually, some of the people who went and did the course, I'm like, oh my God, this has blown my mind. Like, my head is fried. I used to love it when people like say my head is fried. They would then actually struggle with the implementation because it was just too much education going on. And sometimes when people weren't as maybe enthusiastic, yeah, maybe they weren't about the course content, but then they were the ones that went off and implemented, and they had an ease of implementation and were able to adopt these mental health methods and put them into the business and help more clients. So again, for any coach or PT, like, it's not about blowing the roof off the place, it's actually helping with the implementation so that people can get the results. Another thing that we've kind of joked about that took a little bit of offence to was in sometimes when coaches were like, oh, I already knew this, but like, I was maybe doing, I maybe had thought of some of this stuff before, but I didn't quite have the words or the frameworks to piece it together. I used to take massive offence to it, because I'd be like, well, you aren't doing it, you aren't doing X, you aren't doing Y, you aren't doing Z. And of course they weren't doing things in the exact way that we laid out. But actually what I take from that now, when anyone says that, is I've been able to make a really complex topic really easy for them to understand and implement. That's the thing that's going to change lives, not fucking blowing the roof off the place. So I think that's been a learning curve for both of us. And this is what we're wanting to get then our coaches to start thinking about as well. It's not about overwhelming their clients with all these different things that they need to do when they join their program. It's not about giving them a million one things to do. It's actually simplification is key. So every single thing we teach our coaches is things that we've learned throughout years of business. And then what we want to do is we want to try to get them to start thinking like we think. We think like a big organization. I wake up every single day and think like a CEO. So does Ben. We want our coaches to think about that, because a lot of PTs just think, oh, you know, I'm a personal trainer, I'm not really a business owner, and they don't set their targets or their standards high enough. So we want to show them, this is what you can do. This isn't about counting reps. Like, what you can do to change someone's life through exercise is absolutely enormous, and you need to start leaning into that and give people a world-class service. Because I think this is, obviously, you work with PTs day to day, helping them change their business. That's probably one of the things that you identify the most, is if they don't view themselves as a business leader, and they probably create their own glass ceiling for themselves.
Yeah, 100%. And it's more because there isn't as much education, if any, around business. Granted, it's getting a bit better from what we've heard from some coaches that are coming into the industry now, the support that they're getting maybe from a commercial gym as an employer, putting on e-learning and stuff like that to help them support them with their business, because in the long run that'll help their gym. We're hearing that that's happening now, which is good. Personally, I still don't think that's great, but again, I'm applying the lens of someone that's worked external to the fitness industry until I started coming in to work with MHEC. So seeing that on a daily basis, how that presents itself, it's it's not just about what some mentors might say would be a limiting belief. It's more around, well, actually, just people just don't know how to run a business. They'll know bits and bobs of it. But what Dan's touching on a couple of minutes ago there was around nailing world-class service delivery. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't view it as a business owner in the sense of, right, well, I have a product, I have a service that I need to develop over time. I need to invest in, I need to improve, I need to collect feedback from my customers to tell me, to help me understand where I might be able to improve things. These are the types of things that we're supporting people with on a daily and a weekly basis. And until people can kind of get into that mindset, like Dan mentioned there, around thinking like a CEO as a business owner, that's what's holding a lot of people back, that glass ceiling that you've just referred to. I don't think it's helped by some other kind of mentors in the industry, but we'll save that for another day, around, banging on about revenue months and record months and stuff like that. But the majority of the time it's based around, and we've heard this firsthand, is based around increase your price, but don't actually look at improving your product or service, which then creates more pressure on the coach to deliver and ends up burning them out. So for me, what I try to get across is how to build a sustainable, healthy business, the same way that coaches try to build sustainable, healthy habits for their clients.
Yeah, the reason why we're so passionate about business is, well, one, we have to be for us to run this business in the first place. But the reason we're so passionate about teaching business to our coaches is like exactly what Ben said, like business is stressful. Like it's really difficult. We want our coaches to have fun. Like we share this stat all the time, 90% of PTs leave the fitness industry within the first year. If you're watching this and you're thinking about being a PT, don't let that put you off. But the reason is, one, they're not taught the mental health and human behavioural side that MHEC teaches. And then two, they're not taught the business side of things. And, they think, well, because I love exercise, I can therefore teach other people. But they don't know how, they don't even know the fundamentals of running a business. It can be really stressful. So Ben's job is to teach these complex fundamentals and break them down into easily digestible, bite-sized frameworks and systems that personal trainers, any personal trainer or any business owner really could use in order to grow a rewarding business. So to actually have more fun doing it, and rather than this task avoidance and seeing finances as scary and marketing is scary and sales is scary and business admin is scary, actually viewing these things as exciting things and the really important cogs that make a business run. So that's the reason why we do it. And also, like I said, if we were to train up mental health and exercise coaches who are really passionate about changing people's lives and even saving people's lives and developing this really new way of delivering exercise to the general public, I feel that we'd be doing a massive disservice or potentially actually making things worse for these coaches if they weren't taught how to run a business. Because they're going to go and, bless them because it's coming from a good place, but want to offer all their sessions for free. It doesn't work. You can't do that. You have to have a proper business model behind going off and helping people, regardless of the way that you do it. So this is why so much of the MHEC Award and the MHEC Academy is focused on the business side of things, because the more that they understand how to run a business, the more fun they can have with it, the more people they'll be able to help, the more profitable the business will be able to become, the more money they can invest in growing a bigger service and helping even more people. So that's what a lot of our day-to-day involves. MHEC.
Do you want to clap so you can sync it up?
That's a great idea, yes.
It's almost like we've done this before.
Right, so, we both clap. Wait, yeah. So
clap on one.
So, as in like
3, 2, 1.
Right. Okay.
Oh, we'll do it again.
Right. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Buzz in.
Yeah.
That's all sorted. We still need to wait to hear back from Birmingham City Football Stadium to make sure that they can accommodate those.
You can just say the venue.
Well, they need to know where we're going. Otherwise, it's pointless.
We've said it about 10 times.
It
just sounds like a bit of a mouthful.
We're doing an event in a stadium. Tables of 4, but they've said it might need to be tables of 8, but that doesn't matter because it would just be that then one of our tutors would take one table of 8 as opposed to 2 or 4.
Double the pleasure, twice the fun.
Yeah, exactly. So that'll work fine.
an animation or something to use on the winner slide. Imagine like fireworks or something going off.
Yeah.
So that when you flick onto it, then it's more of
What
a...
about real fireworks?
I mean, we are at Birmingham City Football Stadium, so we might be allowed to have some pyro.
Imagine the day that we have a pyrotechnics budget. Because I wanted a smoke cannon for everyone walking out.
I forgot about
I
that.
was denied it. What about just like party poppers? Just like streamers?
Then we're going to need to tidy it up.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Boring. Creating the intro video is my favourite part, basically, of the whole event. And I mean it's like a 10. I don't want to give too much away. There's a big intro video and then there's another intro video. So it's like 2 intro videos like combined into like, so that's we don't need fireworks, that's fireworks. And all staff members have been briefed. We obviously just need to brief BJ because he was in Turkey getting a hair transplant.
And his teeth done.
And his teeth done. He wasn't really. Although he did successfully convince me that he was just on holiday. I've said if there's anyone that we've identified as vulnerable, I'll just let her know beforehand so she can make a beeline for them when she joins. But overall, I think we're fine for that.
Happy days.
But this is where a lot of the prep goes into now. Like I said, in previous years, I've spent months and months and months on the prep, and not to suggest that we're too relaxed about it now, but there's such thing as too much preparation, too much content. Like actually the beauty of MHEC is that put these guys into, we're not doing this by the way, don't think that I mean that we're going to do this. We could put all of these guys into a room for a full day with zero instruction, zero guidance, and they'd come out saying it was the best day ever, which is an amazing thing. But when it comes to the content and what we're creating now, it's a lot of it is now, right, here's like the prompt. We don't need to bombard you with information and education. It's like, here's the prompt, here's the thing that we're going to be focusing on. Here's the structure, go off and do it. We're here to support you. And then becoming a CEO has been helping them how to actually structure that map. So it's not just all this chaos and all these ideas. You know, ideas are great. I'm an ideas person. I love it. I love how innovative our coaches are and how big dreamers they are. But unless there's structure, unless they have focus, it's futile. So that's the case of Fee described it really well, didn't she? It's like having all these ideas, blue sky thinking, and then it's grounding ourselves and actually teach them how to focus and have a laser sharp focus. Because if they're prioritizing everything, they're prioritizing nothing.
Yep. Right, that's updated now.
Imagine that was class. Thank you. That was a really good insight into this job of me just speaking. And then Ben doing the work.
Ben did all the donkey work.
Ben you just edited all those slides. Very tight schedule as well, because one of the main things I struggle with is timekeeping.
This is the other issue that we have when Dan creates the content without consulting me on it, is he packs everything in and then we need to try and fit a timeline around it.
Right, whilst Ben sorts this, we're basically going to get cracking on with everything. So we've got the rest of the content to plan, we've got the rest of the slides to plan, we've got the worksheets to plan, we've got a couple bits and pieces. I need to do my 2 massive introductory videos, basically to get everything sorted for a week tomorrow. So this has been a nice week behind the scenes for you. Hopefully, you know, if you're an MHEC coach, you're going to be absolutely buzzing about the weekend. You might be a little bit more scared, who knows. And if you're not a member of the MHEC Academy, this is what we do and this is why we do it. So hopefully you've had a little bit of a nice, I'm not going to trip over this wire, a little bit of a nice behind the scenes to, oh, Jesus Christ.
You literally said you weren't going to do that.
A little bit behind the scenes into who we are, what we do, why we do it, who we help, what impact we want to have in our communities and on the wider world. This is how we do it the MHEC way. After the annual upgrade that's taking place next weekend, we'll have filmed all of that and we'll give you a behind the scenes of that day as well and hopefully have some cool things for you to see. See you later.
See you in the next one.